Keanu Reeves had no idea he was being filmed when he approached a homeless woman panhandling. But what happened next left everyone stunned and questioning what true kindness really means. The streets of Manhattan are always busy, filled with the sounds of honking cars, chattering people, and the rush of daily life. It's a typical day, with pedestrians walking fast, trying to get to their next destination. Amid the chaos, there is one quiet corner of the street where a homeless woman named Wendy sits. She's surrounded by the noise of the city but appears lost in her own world. A cardboard sign hangs from her neck, asking for help. She holds out a small cup, hoping that some kind strangers will drop a coin or two to help her get through another day. Her eyes are tired, yet hopeful, though she has learned not to expect too much from anyone. Wendy's face tells the story of years of struggle. Life hasn't been kind to her, she's been laid off from her job, lost her apartment, and now the streets have become her home. Yet, she wears a faint smile, hiding the pain she carries. It's a defense mechanism, one that helps her survive the harsh realities of life on the streets. Across the street, Keanu Reeves, a famous actor known for his kindness, walks through the crowd. He's in Manhattan after a long day of charity work. Dressed in a simple t-shirt and jeans, he blends in with the people around him, hoping to go unnoticed. But as he walks down the street, his eyes land on Wendy. Despite his fame, he doesn't expect anyone to recognize him, but something about Wendy catches his attention. He decides to stop, not knowing that this moment will change both of their lives. Keanu Reeves was walking down the busy streets of Manhattan, his thoughts drifting from one thing to another as he made his way home. He had just finished a long day of charity work and was looking forward to some quiet time. The city around him seemed to be moving at a fast pace, as usual. People rushed to their destinations, while the sound of cars honking and people chatting filled the air. Amid all the noise and busyness, Keanu's attention was drawn to a quieter spot by the sidewalk. There, sitting in the midst of the hustle and bustle, was a homeless woman named Wendy. She was sitting on the pavement with a cardboard sign hanging around her neck. The sign read, "Please help. Anything is appreciated." Her small cup lay in front of her, hoping for some change from the passing crowd. Wendy looked tired, and her eyes seemed lost in thought. She had been on the streets for a long time and knew that people rarely stopped to give her more than a glance or a few coins. As Keanu got closer, he noticed Wendy's sign and her tired expression. For a moment, he felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. His steps slowed as he looked at her, and their eyes met. Wendy was a bit surprised when she saw Keanu looking at her. She wasn't sure what to make of it. People often looked at her but didn't really see her, and she had learned not to expect anything from the busy crowds. Keanu stopped in front of her, not just as a celebrity but as a person who saw Wendy as more than just a homeless woman asking for help. He read the sign around her neck, then turned his attention to her. With a soft voice, he asked, "What's your name?" Wendy blinked, taken aback by the question. No one had asked her name in a long time. She had grown used to being treated as invisible, just another face on the street. "Wendy," she said quietly, unsure of what to say next. Keanu smiled kindly, his tone warm. "Hi, Wendy. Are you hungry?" Wendy hesitated. She had learned to survive on small amounts of food given by strangers, but no one had ever really offered to sit down and share a meal with her before. She had learned to be cautious. "I'm fine," she replied softly, not quite believing that someone like Keanu could really care. But Keanu wasn't finished. Instead of just offering her money, he made a different offer. "I'd really like to buy you something to eat. Would you like that? We can go somewhere and get you a meal." His words were genuine, not just the usual offer of spare change that people usually gave. Wendy looked at him, stunned. Here was a man who had everything, yet he was offering her more than just a coin or a few bills. He was offering something far more valuable: kindness, compassion, and a chance to feel like a person again. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. No one had ever treated her this way before. I don't know, Wendy stammered, still unsure. She had learned to be independent, to survive without asking for too much. But something in Keanu's eyes told her this was different. He wasn't just being kind because he felt sorry for her, he genuinely cared. Keanu could see her hesitation. He didn't push her too hard, but he was patient. "Take your time," he said. "No pressure, Wendy. I just want to make sure you get a good meal. Please, let me help." After a moment, Wendy nodded, still uncertain but feeling touched by his sincerity. "Okay," she whispered, "I'd like that." Keanu smiled warmly, then offered her a hand to help her up. They walked together down the street, side by side. Keanu didn't treat her like a charity case, he treated her like a friend. As they walked to the nearby cafe, the cameras that had been secretly filming the entire interaction from a distance remained unnoticed by Keanu. To him, this wasn't about being filmed, it was about offering someone a chance to feel seen, heard, and valued. At the cafe, Keanu and Wendy sat together, and Keanu watched as Wendy took her first bite of the warm meal. Her face softened, and for the first time in a long while, Wendy felt something more than just hunger, she felt like she mattered. Wendy sat at the small cafe table, still trying to process what had just happened. For a long time, she had been invisible to most people. She had become accustomed to walking the streets of Manhattan, asking for change, and being ignored or looked at with disdain. But now, here she was, sitting with Keanu Reeves, one of the most famous actors in the world. She could hardly believe it. The warmth in his eyes and the kindness in his voice made her feel like she wasn't just a stranger on the streets, she was a person, someone worth talking to. When Keanu first approached her, Wendy had been unsure of how to react. A part of her thought he might just be passing by, offering a few dollars, like many others. But Keanu had done something different. He hadn't just handed her some change. He had asked her name, offered to buy her a meal, and treated her with a respect she hadn't felt in years. At first, Wendy had hesitated. She wasn't used to people offering anything beyond spare change. She was used to surviving on the bare minimum, making do with whatever the streets gave her. The idea of sitting down for a meal with someone, especially someone like Keanu, seemed almost too much. She thought, why would he want to help me? She had always been independent, doing whatever it took to get by. Asking for help was something she never liked to do. But Keanu wasn't like anyone she had met before. His offer was genuine, and his kindness was impossible to ignore. "I don't know if I can accept," Wendy had said quietly, looking down at the table. She wasn't sure how to handle this unexpected kindness. Keanu smiled, not in a way that felt patronizing, but as if he truly understood her hesitation. "It's okay," he said. "I just want to make sure you get a good meal. You deserve to be treated well, Wendy." Wendy stared at him for a moment, feeling a wave of emotion that she couldn't quite explain. She had been on the streets for so long that kindness felt like a rare, distant thing. Why is he doing this for me? She wondered. But Keanu's gentle persistence eventually won her over, and she agreed to go with him to a nearby cafe. As they sat down together, Keanu listened patiently as Wendy began to speak. It was the first time in a long while that she felt like someone was truly interested in her story. She didn't have to put on a brave face, or hide her emotions. She could just be herself, and for the first time in ages, it felt like a relief. "I lost my job a while ago," Wendy began, her voice soft but steady. "The company I worked for was downsizing, and I didn't see it coming. One day I was going to work, and the next I was out. I couldn't get another job fast enough, and soon, I lost my apartment." Keanu listened, nodding, as Wendy continued. She told him how her family and friends had turned their backs on her. It wasn't easy for her to admit, but she explained how the rejection had hurt more than anything else. I had people I thought I could count on, but when things got tough, they all left. No one wanted to help me. It's hard to face that kind of loneliness, especially when you're already struggling. Keanu's face softened with empathy. I'm really sorry you had to go through that, he said. But I believe you're strong for still being here, for not giving up. You're still fighting, and that's important. Wendy looked up at him, surprised by the sincerity in his words. She had expected pity, but Keanu wasn't offering pity, he was offering understanding. It was something she hadn't received in so long. I never gave up, Wendy said, her voice quiet. I've learned to survive, to make do. I know how to get by, even when it's hard. But sometimes, I wonder if it's enough. It is enough, Keanu assured her. Surviving is enough, but I think you deserve more than just getting by. You deserve the chance to live with dignity and to rebuild your life. Wendy's eyes filled with tears. She had never thought that someone like Keanu would care about her future, let alone offer to help her rebuild her life. It was a kindness she hadn't expected, and it left her speechless. As they continued to talk, Wendy felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way out of the life she had been living on the streets. With Keanu's encouragement, Wendy felt like she had the strength to take the first step towards something better. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, she believed it was possible. As Wendy sat across from Keanu, she felt a sense of calm that she hadn't experienced in a long time. After their conversation about her struggles, Keanu leaned in a little closer, his gaze warm and genuine. Wendy, he began, what have you always wanted to do? What are your dreams? Wendy was taken aback by the question. It wasn't often that someone took the time to ask her about her hopes for the future. She had spent so much time just trying to survive, trying to get by from day to day, that her dreams had faded into the background. But now, sitting in front of this kind man, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she could talk about them again. I used to want to be a designer, Wendy said softly, her eyes flicking to the ground. I loved drawing, creating things. I'd sketch out designs for clothes, imagining one day having my own line. But, life got in the way. Everything fell apart. Keanu nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He could see the passion in her eyes, the same fire that most people in his position would have dismissed. It's not too late, Keanu said, his voice encouraging. You've got the skills, and you've got the heart. I believe you can make it happen. Wendy looked at him, unsure of how to react. Could she really start over? Could she really chase her dream again after all this time? Keanu's encouragement sparked something deep inside her, a flicker of hope she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. Keanu reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a checkbook. Without a second thought, he wrote out a check for $20,000 and handed it to Wendy. This is for you, he said. It's to help you get started, to help you believe in yourself again. Take this, and let's see where it takes you. Wendy was speechless. She stared at the check in her hands, unable to believe what she was seeing. No one had ever done anything like this for her. This wasn't just a handout, this was an opportunity. An opportunity to rebuild her life, to reclaim the dream she had once put on hold. I don't know what to say, Wendy whispered, tears starting to form in her eyes. Thank you, Keanu. I never thought anyone would care about me like this. Keanu smiled gently, his voice calm and reassuring. You don't have to say anything, Wendy. Just know that you are worth it. You can reach out to me anytime. If you ever need guidance, help, or just someone to talk to, I'm here. For the first time in a long while, Wendy felt seen. She felt like a person, not just someone on the streets asking for spare change. This act of kindness from Keanu had given her something more precious than money, it had given her a chance. As Keanu and Wendy continued to talk, the warmth of their conversation seemed to dissolve the coldness that had surrounded Wendy for so long. She was beginning to feel something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Little did they know, their interaction was being captured by a hidden camera from a local news station, quietly observing from a distance. The camera operator had been following Keanu for a few moments, knowing the actor was in town for a charity event, but hadn't anticipated such a heartfelt moment unfolding before him. The footage, once it was broadcast, quickly went viral. The heartwarming scene of a global superstar, who could easily go about his day, choosing instead to stop and help a homeless woman, moved people everywhere. Social media exploded with posts, videos, and messages, praising Keanu's unexpected act of kindness. The video showed Keanu talking to Wendy, offering her more than just a meal. He offered her hope, dignity, and a chance at a new life. People from all walks of life were touched by the sincerity and compassion he showed, and the ripple effect was undeniable. As the footage spread, a group of reporters, having caught wind of the story, began to make their way toward Keanu and Wendy. Their curiosity about the situation was evident, and they were eager to capture an interview with the famous actor and the woman whose life had just changed. When the reporters arrived, their cameras rolled, and microphones were aimed at the pair. Wendy, at first, was taken aback by the sudden attention. She wasn't used to being in the spotlight, and the idea of sharing her story with the world made her nervous. She had lived a life of invisibility, of being ignored by society, and now, suddenly, she was the center of attention. Her hands trembled as she looked around at the growing crowd of onlookers and reporters. Keanu, ever the gracious presence, turned to Wendy with a reassuring smile. "Hey, Wendy," he said gently. "You've got an incredible story, and the world needs to hear it. You've been through so much, and I think your voice can inspire so many others who are going through tough times." Wendy hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to say. She had spent so long living in the shadows, surviving day by day, and now she was being asked to open up to the world. She felt vulnerable, her story raw and full of painful memories. But as she glanced at Keanu, his warm and encouraging smile gave her a sense of comfort. For the first time in a long while, someone believed in her, and in her story. "Do you think it would help, Keanu?" Wendy asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Keanu nodded. "I know it will. You never know who you might help by sharing your story. Sometimes, just by being real, you inspire others to keep going." Taking a deep breath, Wendy looked at the reporters and then at Keanu. "Okay," she said softly, her voice gaining strength. "I'll share my story." The reporters, sensing the importance of the moment, quickly set up their cameras and microphones, eager to hear Wendy's journey. She began to speak, her words slow but steady, recounting the hardships that had led her to the streets of Manhattan. She spoke of the loss of her job, the rejection from family and friends, and the crushing weight of being homeless. Yet, as she spoke, her voice held a new strength, one that had been awakened by the kindness of a stranger. "I never thought anyone would stop to listen," Wendy said, her eyes meeting the camera. "But Keanu, he gave me more than just a meal. He gave me back my dignity." The reporters were captivated by Wendy's words, and Keanu, standing beside her, looked on with pride. His simple act of kindness had led to something much bigger than he could have imagined, an opportunity for Wendy to share her story with the world and perhaps, inspire others who felt unseen and forgotten. The footage from that day was shared across news outlets, social media platforms, and blogs, with people applauding not only Keanu's generosity but Wendy's courage to speak out. Her story wasn't just a tale of survival, it was a story of resilience, hope, and the power of kindness. Keanu's unexpected act of generosity is a powerful reminder that one small act of kindness can change someone's life. In a world that often feels divided, moments like this show us the impact of simply listening, offering help, and treating others with dignity. Let Keanu's example inspire you to take action, whether it's a simple gesture of kindness or a bigger commitment to making a difference in someone's life. We encourage you to reach out to those in need, offer a kind word, or lend a helping hand whenever possible. No action is too small to have a profound impact. Subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories that showcase the best of humanity, and don't forget to share this video. Together, we can inspire others to make a difference and help those who need it most. Thank you for watching. Let's keep spreading kindness and positivity, one story at a time.